Hey everybody, welcome back to the Move podcast, brought to you each and every day by Patron Tequila. We'll name a Patron. Myself and George will name a Patron of the day here in a minute. Talking about the stage from Bourg St. Maurice to what's really sort of the Rose Bowl of cycling, Alpe d'Huez. Didn't disappoint. Tons of people out. Beautiful day. We say it every day. It's been sunny every day. I said it in the first week. I think the heat of the first week that is now continuing is going to have an effect, and it actually already had an effect on this race, especially when it comes to the back of the group.
I'm going to start out instead of a statement about today's stage with a question. Why in the world are you wearing a bike kit for podcast?
Buddy, I'm in the start house.
So
uncool. I'm in the start house. I'm ready.
No, we have like a certain standard while we're in here, and you're in a bike kit right now.
Chamois time is saddle time, George. You know that. Well, George and I went out for a ride yesterday. This guy's, he's so popular that, he can't ride long. He's got to go lunches and meetings and all this fancy
like
shit.
tennis too.
Whatever.
No
with all these other important people, rich
work
people.
Stuff. I had to work yesterday.
So he couldn't ride that long, and so I dropped him off, and then I rode more. So I'm adding up the miles on George. I need it. Big time.
We still got to wait for me to go riding today afterwards, and I'm not in bike kit. So
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I'm plus this is our members only kit. By the way, too, he's upset because it's not a Hincapie kit. Let's be honest.
I get it.
I mean, this is the Rafa custom kit for members only at the Move.
Yeah. Looks good.
Feels good.
Looks good.
All right, before we get into it, let me just talk real briefly about PowerDot. We talk about it every day. I have one small and minor update on this thing. PowerDot, we all I left it over at the house. I don't have it sitting right here. The most mobile eSTIM unit out there, powered by your phone, Bluetooth enabled, whole bunch of different settings. They're giving away 1 unit per day to our listeners, powerdot.org/themove. Or if you want to buy one, you can go on there. Same place, get 25% off. The update I have is Lawson Craddock posted this on his Instagram the other day with it on his broken scapula. And so I sent him a message last night. I said, do you think it's helping? He said, absolutely.
That's great.
And Lawson, we're worried about Lawson Craddock. He said what he said was, I was absolutely destroyed after the cobbles.
Mm-hmm.
And it's made a significant difference since then. Lawson finished top 50 today.
Yeah, very impressive ride by Lawson.
Yeah. But here, look. I mean, it was high level. This was a day that I didn't see coming. I didn't expect for Geraint Thomas to repeat again in yellow. Bunch of surprises. I think George and I were both equally surprised about Nairo Quintana and just to be in the front group, to launch an attack, and then to get caught, and then to get dropped. I mean, what?
Yeah, at that level, I mean,
you got to know.
There's no excuses for that. And you get dropped, you're having a bad day, fine. But you're attacking and then getting dropped right away without a big rhythm change, then he made a big mistake.
So you're basically saying he was not on form to be attacking.
Well,
if
yeah,
you end
he
up
should
being
know
dropped.
that better than anybody.
He should know that. I mean, if you're in that group, you can gauge yourself. You can look at the others. You can gauge where they are. I mean, unless I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, can you guys recall seeing 4 big contenders going to the line on a finish like that? That doesn't happen very often.
Not off the top of my head, but I was very, very, very impressed with Dumoulin today. I mean, after his ride yesterday, we all thought that he would be paying for it today, and he was arguably one of the strongest guys in that group. He said in his post-race interview that there was a big headwind and he couldn't make the difference when he attacked, but I mean, his attacks, in my opinion, he was the strongest guy in that break today.
Just Dumoulin always had a Sky Guy on his wheel.
Yeah,
it was Room for quite a while, and then it was Thomas for quite a while.
I think, my sense of Tom Dumoulin is he's a big guy. So those accelerations, he knows that he can't A, make those accelerations, and B, handle the accelerations of others. So he's learned to be really good at just controlling his effort, staying in his zone. Even if they accelerate, let them go. Just stay. He's a diesel. Just stay there. Mm-hmm. Reminds me a lot of Miguel Indurain, who would he couldn't follow the moves all the time, but he would just stay there and just, and just
not panic.
And bring them back. And then I was very impressed. I did not see that coming.
What did you guys think? I mean, just give me your thoughts on those 4 we saw at the line. Like, who looked best? I mean,
yeah,
I
had to cover my eyes when they were 4 stacked across the road with 2 or 3K to go. I mean, this. Look, they saved the day. It ended up being very exciting, but they damn near let Vincenzo Nibali come back, who had crashed.
And that's the one risky tactic of having
right.
2 co-leaders, because in a situation where you have one leader, one of those guys would have been putting everything on the line to increase the gap over Nairo, increase the gap over Nibali. I mean, Nibali was amazing today. He crashed and almost caught back up. He might have won the stage had he not been taken out.
They had several angles of Nibali, and they were all blocked.
I mean, what are the chances?
One blocked by smoke, the other blocked by a tree. What did they speculate happened to him as he was reeling them back in?
So he was quoted here on Cycling News' live feed. He actually doesn't even seem to really know what happened. My sense, or what I suspect, is that like every high mountain finish, there's 3 kilometers before the finish, they start the barrier. So people ask all the time, what is it like to ride in the middle of all these people? They are getting crazier and crazier, by the way. Forget like the Borat outfits and all this, but now it's flares, it's just
what is with
it's selfies.
It was weird. There was barriers on the first K, which we've never seen, but there was no barriers when Nibali crashed with 3K to go.
Right, that's right where they started.
Make sense.
I think that had a lot. It was a weird. Aside from not being able to see it on TV, it was a weird combo of the barriers starting then, and if you go back and rewatch it, some idiot standing there with his flare. So it's just so much confusion. The police motos, the press motos,
Were they setting off smoke bombs like that in your day? I mean,
I forget everything. So
everything's a blur. Like, are you just choking on those?
Yeah, you're choking on them. They would set them off on the iconic climbs all the time.
That's just fans just bringing fireworks.
Yeah, it's a big
basically.
party. It's a huge party on Alpe d'Huez.
Wow. I just wondered if that's like you're literally just gagging on those as you're trying to breathe and.
Yeah, it's not the most comfortable thing, but at that point you're just trying to get to the finish line. You're not even like worried about what's going on around you.
Here's a stat. I'm just seeing this. Geraint Thomas's time up Alpe d'Huez. I mean, these people really, really geek out about. I mean, it's essentially a time trial, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and even outside of Strava, there's every year they really are focused on what is the time up Alpe d'Huez.
Mm.
This actually really blows me away. Geraint Thomas's time was 41:15. The record, Marco Pantani. I won't tell you who else went just about the same time at some point in his life. That's 4 minutes and 35 seconds slower than the record.
Wow.
And not even fast enough to enter the top 100 fastest times on Alpe d'Huez. That's...
Wow.
Demelon did say there was a big headwind, but that wouldn't account for 4 minutes.
No.
Well, what would account for 4 minutes?
The cat and mouse would not. No,
that's a minute. That's a minute right there. They sat up watching each other.
A minute?
Yeah,
they were still moving. They didn't stop.
They were. Nibali was a minute behind, and then he got within 50 meters of the group. So yeah, they lost about
behind.
A minute. We'll ask Johan what he thinks.
Jesus. What were you? We were watching the same race.
Yeah, they were across the road. Not even. They were doing. They
it's
went
not
from,
a minute.
They went from 450 watts to 300 watts in a span of about 600, 700, 800 meters until Bardet attacked.
One of the things I wanted to ask you guys, because like I mentioned earlier, for quite a while, we saw Froome just sitting on Dumoulin's wheel, and then later it was Thomas just sitting on it when Froome was trying to go. That seems like the place to be. Like they're getting pulled up, right? Why, if Froome was the... I mean, how are they deciding that? Can you guys even speculate? Or
they're just. I thought, and he did attack. That Froome would attack with 5K to go, and his intention was to pull away. But like I said earlier, why I thought Demelon was the strongest guy was he pulled him back, and then Bardet attacked, and Geraint went. But Demelon basically controlled all 3 guys on his own, even though he didn't win the stage, and Geraint did an amazing sprint finish. Being one of the GC favorites, he did the top ride out of those guys, in my opinion.
Dumoulin?
Yep.
Again, if you're him and you fear these accelerations, it is better for you just to sit there and go your tempo, which, by the way, his cruise speed is fast enough to discourage people from attacking.
Not only that, he wasn't only on the defensive either. He attacked and dropped Froome for a bit. I'm sure Geraint didn't help him, but so not only was he chasing down the attacks, he went on the offensive as well, which was very impressive. When Chris Froome attacked, I thought, okay, this is his move. This is his trademark attack, and he's gone. He doesn't come back ever. Usually ever. I'm very surprised that they brought him back, and that's not a good sign.
Bardet seemed to have.
In the Giro, we talked. I wrote him off in the Giro,
and he surprised
100 times, and he
yeah.
surprised everybody. But that's not normal.
You guys haven't talked about what you thought of Bardet at all. He seemed to have really great accelerations.
Yeah, I think he's looking better and better, and he's definitely going to be the way he's going right now. I would assume he's going to be even better in the Pyrenees.
One thing we got to talk about is the abandons. Was an exceptional amount of
and time cuts.
Well, I'm still not clear on what the time cut was supposed to be, and what it is actually going to be. But some big names dropping out today: Rigoberto Urán. I pronounced that right.
That
Tony
good.
Galopin. So Bardet loses a key teammate. Gaviria. Groenewegen. Who the hell? Greipel. Greipel dropped. Is Chris Froome going to be sprinting in Paris?
I know there's probably
That's
a lot of riders licking their chops now to like.
Yeah, Peter Sagan. Make a party.
Yeah.
Christoph.
We're going to make party in Paris.
Christoph as well.
Yeah.
I read he's getting a divorce.
Did we?
Yeah.
I think that has to be stressful for him, and he seemed a little off.
You said that he seemed a little off, and then in the press he had to do a statement. Maybe someone was going to leak it, and he addressed the fact that he's going through a divorce. And they have a very young child.
Yeah, this is the largest sporting event in the world, but man, life is a lot more important. So I'm sure he's got a lot more important things on his mind, and he's obviously riding incredibly right now, but things are weighing on his mind.
Yeah. All right, we got Johan Bruyneel we're going to call up, but before we get to that, let's talk about high brew coffee. Again, talk about it every day. Cold brew for those who do. 6 different flavors, all natural energy. 2 cups of coffee per. Much less acidity because of the cold brew process. And to our regular listeners, everybody's been trying to we screwed up this promotional code for Amazon yesterday. The only thing we messed up is it's 20 the move, all caps. 20 the move, all caps. High brew coffee. Cold brewed for those who do.
Are we ready to call Johan? Okay. This is his first.
I've never used Skype in my whole life. Is that weird? Good morning, Johan. Or good afternoon for you. Good evening, I guess.
Morning, Johan. Who'd you out of those 4 guys? Who's your strongest guy in that group?
Out of those 4 guys, which 4 guys?
The lead guys. Geraint Thomas, Froome, Dumoulin, Bardet.
Well, for now, I have to say it's Geraint Thomas. He's been impressive.
Yeah.
Although I have to say I'm surprised with Dumoulin. He's on a very high level, so I don't think they're done with him yet. Especially if you see how big of an effort he put in yesterday, and to be there today, and I think he loses the stage because he made a mistake in the last corner, in my opinion.
Yep.
When he pulled off, he went to last position, and if he stays in Geraint Thomas' wheel, he could have won. Could have won the stage, but I think Geraint Thomas is definitely the strongest guy for now.
Wow.
Yep.
Hey, Johan, our old friend Bernard Hinault, God, it's just get back on the riding lawnmower, Bernard, and just leave the sport. So he said he called the current riders today and their style of racing, he called them sissies. Said they're all sissies. Nobody attacks anymore.
Did you watch today's stage?
Well, they said it during the stage, so I don't know. But we can't argue that the racing is different, right? Just the dynamics, the explosiveness of it.
Completely. I think if you see first of all, the level of competition is a lot more balanced, and Sky is at the top. But if you see how they prepare, not much has changed in the last 20 years, I would say. They are prepared, super prepared. They have the biggest budget, of course, the biggest staff. But they obviously know what they're doing. They know how fast they can go up a climb. They know who to spend when, and it's pretty simple. When the SkyTrain is at cruise speed, nobody. It's not that they can't. They don't want to attack. They can't attack.
Yeah.
And so I think the big difference is that it's a lot more controlled. They control their effort, and they know exactly what they're doing. That's why you don't see these massive attacks from far, but also you don't see these big losses and people who lose 20 minutes because they forget to eat or something like that. You don't see that anymore.
And what and I don't know if you were listening earlier to the live feed, Johan, but we just saw a stat here on the internet that Geraint Thomas's time. You know how people just nerd out about the actual time up Alpe d'Huez was. His time was more than 41 minutes, more than 4.5 minutes slower than Pantani, and doesn't even rank in the top 100 times ever up Alpe d'Huez.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's different reasons for that. First of all, you have to see what kind of stage it is. It's the third stage in the Alps, so obviously people are tired, and you could see that today. It was a pretty long stage, and also, the tactics. I don't think there's been, obviously Team Sky has been pulling all day. They didn't necessarily set a tempo to catch the breakaway, so I don't think they went up very fast at the beginning. But then if you see at the end, when Nibali almost comes back and Landa comes back, that's obviously a sign that.
How much time do you think they lost doing that, Johan? Sitting four abreast, basically chatting.
Well, I don't think they were chatting, but
looking at each other, maybe not chatting. Mind talking.
The fact that a guy like Landa, who was dropped pretty quickly, comes back not once, twice, but 3 times.
Thank you, Johan. I'm just trying to prove a point to Lance over here.
Hey, Johan always, he knows I'm wrong all the time. I'm right twice a day. Like a broken clock.
Nibali crashed.
Yeah.
He was already a little, in my opinion, a little bit on the limit. So he crashed and he comes back.
Yeah.
Obviously, they didn't go very fast. So you can say, easily a minute, if not more.
Oh, God, you guys
thank
are out.
you. That's exactly what I said, Johan.
Fucking minds.
Yes.
You're right. Are you crazy?
I agree.
A minute?
I agree.
Do you guys know?
100%.
I didn't speak to George at all, so.
Yeah, thank you. We agree.
Like they're in
we agree on that.
on this?
And then, Johan, as a director, what would you be thinking watching Nairo attacking and then getting dropped right after that? Like, you'd be probably pretty pissed off, wouldn't you?
No, to me, it's the way I see it is that both Landa and Quintana didn't have the legs, and to me it sounded like they attacked because they were ordered from the car to go, but there was no conviction in any of those attacks.
No, so maybe they're more pissed at their director.
They were probably insisting, okay, come on, give it a try.
Yeah,
and they didn't go anywhere. They took 10 meters, 15 meters. So I think that. The case. They didn't want to, but they had to, in my opinion.
That makes sense. We didn't even think about that. So they're probably pretty disappointed at their director right now, as opposed to the other way around.
Maybe we'll read about it later. Okay, Johan, last question before we sign off here with you. But and let's keep doing this as we get into the Pyrenees. I know, and just as an aside for you and for the listeners, I've had so many people this year say, "When's Johan coming on the show?"
Mm-hmm.
And so. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Okay, so who sitting here today? I mean, we're 12 stages in. Who's your pick to win in Paris?
Well, I'm still gonna go with Froome. I've checked the Pyrenees. Don't underestimate the Pyrenees. The Pyrenees are quite hard.
No, I think they're very hard.
Yeah, and As for now, you have to say there's no way of stopping Geraint Thomas. The only thing that I see a bit in his not in his favor is that he seems to be a rider who uses big gears in the mountains. He's not a typical climber. He's more like a rouleur. And he's going to defend himself better in the Alps, in my opinion, than in the Pyrenees. The Pyrenees is the pavement is more rough, and it's more for pure climbers. So, and going off the of the history, I mean, Froome has won the Tour 4 times. Today I was a bit surprised, though. I expected him to be a lot stronger.
I agree. We all agree with that.
Maybe he's feeling, the tiredness of the Giro, and I think it's definitely Geraint Thomas' chance, a big chance to win. And now he's, with the advantage he has, Froome will have to feel really, really good to attack and to make sure that he doesn't cause any damage to Geraint Thomas.
Yeah.
Normally, I mean, if the way I see it now, Sky would just have to defend the jersey. I think on the other hand, you have to look also at what's the competition work. I mean, obviously Landa and Quintana don't have it, and you have to look. It's Dumoulin and in my opinion, Dumoulin and Nibali.
Yeah.
Especially because Nibali dares to attack. Bardet's up there, but I think they're not riding very smart. The team with this young Pierre Latour going like crazy and not doing anything for his leader. I think they could play that differently, but yeah, I'm for the moment I'm still gonna go for Froome because of his track record more than anything else. The unknown factor is his tiredness of the Giro, of course.
Okay. All right, buddy. Thanks for calling in, and we'll talk to you in a few days.
Thanks, Johan.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. Love you, brother.
Okay, everybody. Bye-bye.
Oh, I didn't say I love you back.
Well, he didn't hear. He must not have heard me. He definitely didn't hear me. There's no way.
So happy.
One thing that we didn't. Johan alluded to it, that it was a very tough day, and so when you start to look at these times, like Pantani's time, keep in mind that stage when Pantani set the record. That stage started in Grenoble.
One climb.
So all they did was come up the valley. Granted, it's not flat, but it's not a climb. So they rolled up the valley. He started Alpe d'Huez with an entire team. So they had people. I mean, it was like a sprint lead out when he started Alpe d'Huez, hence the record. And when I did it, and just about the same time, a few seconds off, it was a time trial. So all I did was one climb.
Yeah.
These boys did 5,000 meters today, 15,000 vertical feet.
Yeah, it was a brutal day.
Just so y'all know, and I want to get him on there since he's just giving me shit about wearing a bike jersey, chamoised up. It is a little weird, I got to be honest, but I want to get George on the record when we're talking about a lot of vertical climbing. So I've committed to do La Ruta de Conquistador in Costa Rica in early November. 3 stages, brutal race. The first stage is 12,000 vert, is what I read on their website. And so I'm like, oh no. So what I decided to do is I better have somebody with me. And so George has committed to be there.
Reluctantly, might I add.
But just say this, I will be there.
I will probably be there.
Oh, come on. What is this?
And when is this event? November?
Early November.
Most likely will be there.
But for these guys, he's there. But for these guys, I mean, 15,000 vert is that's an extreme day. So I'm just trying to work my head around the slow time because, to not be in the top 100 of all time, that's
super
notable.
hot day. Also, they said it was 95
hot
degrees.
for
A
the
lot
entire
of
tour.
different factors.
Explain to everybody, because you guys are trying to do math and talking about time cuts the last 2 days. How is the time cut calculated, and explain that to everybody and how it's affecting.
Okay, well, here, and we are just catching up to speed on this, and based on the way we looked at it today, our time cut was different. So the first thing that happens is that in the rule book of the race, they have these different coefficients. So coefficient 1 and 2 and 3 for the different stages, and then all the way down to even time trials have time cuts. So for today, and then part 2 of that is that they then calculate it based on the average speed of the peloton. So today, according to Johan, the average speed was 33 kilometers an hour, which should mean that the time cut is 11% of 5 hours and 18 minutes, which is 318 minutes. That puts it somewhere right around 35 minutes. That would have But the race and the websites here are saying that the time cut was actually 41. That saved about 25 guys. So maybe we have the average. You have to, again, there's a lot of factors into this. Maybe we have the average speed wrong. But
extreme conditions, sometimes they'll make exceptions as well. Super
what
hot
was
day.
so extreme?
I don't know. Apparently it was very hot. Maybe not extremely hot, but I'm not sure. I'm just giving examples of why they would make exceptions or perhaps change the rules.
But there were people that missed the time cut today. So we had the abandons. We had a couple of, according to the Tour de France app here, we're going to have 153 riders left.
That's insane after the first set of mountains.
Yeah, it's only going to get.
Shed some light for everybody about how this affects the tour overall. When they're trying to make it punchier, quicker, these shorter stages, and some sprinters are getting shelled, right? Not making time cuts. Just how does that affect it for the spectator? I mean, we've got a lot of racing left.
Two things. One, Roman Bardet's lost 2 teammates, so he's now down to him plus 5 guys.
We lose some of the biggest names in cycling: Christoph, Cavendish, Gaviria.
Yeah, I mean, Gaviria.
Gaviria.
He's the Colombian
Groenewegen. I mean, come on, we've lost some of the star sprinters in the peloton.
Can we just? And this is George told me this yesterday, because if you guys remember, if you remember in the first week, we had a Dutch fan write in and said, "What are the chances for Groenewegen?" And I said, "Week 3. Forget he doesn't have the speed for week 1." Of course, lo and behold, he goes off and rips off 2 straight stage wins. His first one, he's coming across the line like. George reports to me yesterday that was in response to my sorry ass.
That's what I heard. I don't have
I feel terrible. I feel bad.
But if it is true, it is hilarious.
It is, but then I feel bad. I wasn't trying to.
And trust me, it's hard to make this person right here sitting next to me feel bad. So if it was to him, great job.
I'm sure he's a nice kid, and I feel bad about that. God.
But in your opinion, both of you, if we're losing all these big name sprinters and the show all the way into Paris,
I think it's a negative impact for the race.
Should they
100%.
change this cutoff rule? I mean, what do you do to accommodate this?
No, they shouldn't change that.
Stop that. We have other things to talk about. If they miss the time cut or if they drop out and they go home, they're out. That's it. Sorry.
The tour is not for you, after the first week.
Yeah. And look, we can look through the book, and we will and should talk about tomorrow, because I feel that, if I look at this book and there's not Paris is the only day left for these sprinters. It's not like we're going to miss out on 5 days
tomorrow. But by the way, the few sprinters that are left, their directors are telling them who's dropping out of the race, who's going to be close to the time cut, to try to motivate them to not lose whatever group they're in. That's probably going to make the time cut, because now they have a better chance than ever to win the stage.
I think there's no doubt that a breakaway goes away and stays away tomorrow, and somebody from that break wins.
Can I disagree on that?
Yeah.
Because if Christoph is in and Demar is in, it's a massive opportunity for them to win a stage.
It's the last opportunity.
Being that all the sprinters are gone. So they will definitely, a break will go from the gun, but they will work together and bring it back for the sprint. Because you can tell it's quite flat running on the way in, and that's going to be a huge opportunity for Christoph, Sagan, and Demar if he's still in the race.
But there's around about 300 meters before the finish.
Ooh.
I mean, who does that?
They're trying to make it more entertaining for the spectators. I want to touch on one more thing from today's. Are you moving on to something else? A comment you made that you're adamant about, and I think George will disagree.
No, that's what I was about to say.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, you read my mind. Folks, especially if you're not even in the top 100 times of all time on Alpe d'Huez, you're going less than 10 miles an hour. I'm watching this race. It's hot, whatever. But get rid of the helmets. We don't need.
Explain your logic behind this. Your reasoning.
I want to hear this too.
No, I'll tell you exactly. First of all, they are going less than 10 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
To win the New York City Marathon, you have to run about 12 miles an hour.
Mm.
You could stumble. You could trip. You could hit a curb. You could hit your head. Do they wear helmets? No.
So you're saying that they should wear helmets in the marathon?
We can't identify the sport. I just think back, and they showed some classic footage because there's such a rich There's such a rich Dutch history here on this mountain.
Mm-hmm.
They showed the old footage of Gert-Jan Tunissen riding with the hair, no glasses, no helmet. I mean, this guy was a character. This was a personality. If Marco Pantani rode every climb that we ever remember him riding with helmet and glasses, he would not be a character. So this sport has to have personalities and characters. If they all look the same outside of different colored jerseys and they look like robots, you can't be a character. Drop the helmets at the bottom of the climb. Nobody's going to get hurt. I promise.
Can I ask you a question? Is the marathoners running into a narrow section of the road at 30 miles an hour? This is right before Alpe d'Huez, and throwing their helmets away. Think about the extra danger that's causing. And these days you can't even feel a helmet on your head. Like what's the big? You can't even feel them.
That's not my point. The helmets may be good.
I see where you're going.
They may be super ventilated and light and comfortable. That's not my point. We did it for a couple of years. The rule, they started when we started. You didn't have to wear a helmet, and then they tweaked the rule where you had to wear a helmet, but you could take it off on the final climb, and then they tweaked it again and said you had to wear it the whole time.
By the way, when you crash going slow, you have a likelihood of getting hurt worse because you're not sliding. So the likelihood of you breaking a bone are probably higher when you're going slow.
Okay, well, we have a sport that's 100 years old. That for most of that, the highest percentage of that time, they rode these climbs with no helmets. You show me one person that fell over going 8 miles an hour that's hurt.
And for clarity, the reason you're adamant about this is to help the sport. Bigger stars, more familiar names.
1,000,000% chance that somebody gets hurt, but it's better for the game, and it's better for the sport, and it's better for the fans if we see these riders.
I mean, look, I agree. It would look better, but as a rider that's ridden probably 8-10 Paris-Roubaix without a helmet, and maybe 8 or 10 Tour de France without majority of it having a helmet on, I would never not wear a helmet again, nor advise anybody else to not wear a helmet in no situation, because you can't even feel them on your head anymore. It's like going to the bathroom. You put a helmet on. Why not?
That's not my point. Sports live and die by personalities, by characters, by looks, by emotion.
I looked pretty good with the helmet on. I don't know about you.
You don't see it. You don't see it. You don't see it. Stop. I'm right. You're wrong. All right.
Maybe the listeners should weigh in on this issue.
Give
us a percentage tomorrow. Like who's leading the?
It is very challenging. I'm thinking like even if and I know they have sponsors, but even if the riders were wearing one-off helmets and different glasses, so I can spot quicker. Oh, that's Dumoulin. Or especially when you see all the sky, like you can't distinguish them. Like when you're watching F1, you see that Red Bull car, but then you look at the color of the helmet.
In the highly, highly, highly unlikely scenario where I am the head of the UCI, I am changing this rule. I promise you. Amongst 20 other things.
What? Give us one more then right now, and we can do some later in the show. What other thing would you do to change and help the popularity of the riders? Because I see where you're going with that. We need more of the personality out there, and we don't see it.
Well, the most important thing is these athletes that we see today out there just suffering away. Yes, they get paid. Yes, they get salaries, but they don't participate. The big money here is TV. Worldwide TV rights. ASO controls every bit of that. ASO, which owns the tour, they control 100% of the TV rights. Name one sport, one big global sport, where the athletes don't share in that. This is crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. So that they need a share of. I would also, and you didn't ask me, but I'm going to tell you this, and then we can get to some questions. No reason for cycling to be a part of the Olympic movement. Get away from the IOC. Get away from. None of these riders care about the Olympics. They care about the Tour de France, and they care about the Tour. But they care about. Get away from the IOC. Don't be their lapdog. Out, gone. We're a professional sport. We're like F1. We're like the NFL. We're like MLB. We're not an Olympic sport.
Agreed.
Whoa! Hey! I was over here going, George, I disagree. I disagree.
I would agree with that.
I love the Olympics. My gold medal.
I did love the Olympics, and I don't have a gold medal, but I agree.
I do need to have you guys point out what you felt like was the move today, and who was your patron today.
Well, the move, and it didn't last, but this move by Steven Kreiswick, you have to give him the move. I mean, that was a tough. I mean, that was a gutsy move. And the patron, my patron is going to be a 21-year-old Egan Bernal to control that. I mean, think about the stress he had, right? He had to control that front group for not just one leader, but 2 leaders. So he's pulling going, I can't pull off because they're going to be back there looking at each other going, all right, who's going to pull?
Right.
I mean, he was.
So he probably dug deeper and longer.
Very impressive. That you and George has said it. Don't forget that name. That white jersey or whatever jersey he's wearing is going to be yellow at some point in his life.
Yeah, I think he may be the first Colombian to ever win the Tour de France. But I'm going to have to give the Patron Day to Kruijswijk. I mean, for him being in 6th overall and really putting it all out there, risking his GC position and really racing to win, which a lot of the guys now are starting to think about podium places, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, top 5. Kruijswijk didn't even think about that. He just went all out for the win. He didn't make it, but definitely the Patron of the Day for me.
And shout out to that team. That team is like,
the team's killing it.
They're killing it. 2 stage wins, and then,
in the breakaway.
And Primož Roglič up there as well. So,
Yeah.
All right, are we doing questions, or can I? This is the other advantage to wearing a bike jersey or full kit on the show is I get a head start on George.
Full kit. You're not wearing your helmet, though.
I actually thought about wearing my helmet.
Something we haven't addressed, and just because it's been a busy and exciting first 12 days of the tour, is a lot of people have emailed and asked about our new Move music. And I'd rather you tell the story, but let me play a little bit of it first.
Okay, so it's a great question, and I meant to touch on this when we first started using it. So if for those of you who are country music fans, or specifically Willie Nelson fans, who I'm a huge fan of, great friend of, Mickey Raphael has been Willie's harmonica player for a long, long time and is widely considered to be the greatest harmonica player to ever live. And so he's on the road constantly with Willie. When he's not on the road with Willie, he's the most sought-after studio harmonica player in the world. Really in any genre of music. The guy is a living legend, and he loves to ride bikes. So he emailed me or texted me one day and said, "Hey, do you mind if I send over what he does his own solo work?" He's like, "Can I give a song to the show?" And I was like, "Sure."
That's awesome.
So he gave us this song. For the Move.
And we had been looking for something to use for some time, and if anyone's ever done any production, finding music to go with it's a difficult task.
Well, it's easy to find. It's just not
to get
legal.
the rights.
To get the rights.
Right. And something you can get the rights to, but then when Lance sent that over, I was like, oh my God, this is just perfect.
Yeah,
it's just
great.
absolutely
perfect. So Mickey,
perfect.
thank you.
That's
I know
story.
he's watching the tour. Hopefully he's listening to the show, but and he's just also too just a gem of a dude. Like, he's the sweetest guy.
I still need one of those Mickey Raphael T-shirts.
I gave you mine.
That's right. I have yours. I took it off your back.
Maybe you did.
We got to hang out with him in Greenville, which was a fun time.
Yeah. All right. Can we go biking now?
A couple more questions. This one's JP in Liverpool. With so many warning lights going off on today's stage, I wanted to ask Lance what he did when he felt like his day was going pear-shaped. Was there a mantra you would run through your head? And once the bonk is on the horizon, is there anything you can do to avoid it?
Well, it really only happened twice, and you just go into straight crisis mode. And what I would do is just start to calculate where I was on GC and how much I could afford to lose. So if you then have to regulate your effort, then it's just a game of math. And the second part of the question, no. There's nothing you can do.
It's too late.
Especially if it's at the end of a finish or on time. It's too late. You just have to be conservative and smart and just get to the finish line. It's nothing that I know of that you can do.
That was from JP in Toronto. Here's the one from Liverpool. It says, this morning I was out walking down Penny Lane, and sorry, John Lennon and Paul McCartney, but the only thing that was in my ears and eyes was the Move podcast.
Whoa.
How about Mark Cavendish for Patron of the Day for refusing to give up yesterday, and even though he was an hour down on his old friend and teammate Geraint Thomas, and he had the broom wagon right up his arse, he respected the race and fought to the line.
And I heard from folks, and it's a great point. I heard from folks that since you're Mark Cavendish and you're one of the most popular guys in the group, guess what follows you all the time? That's a TV camera. And he had plenty of opportunities to hold on to bottles, hold on to cars, and according to a lot of people, the ones that were up, 50 of them that were in front of him, had a lot of that going on.
A lot of sticky bottles.
A lot of sticky bottles, and their arms are 6 inches longer on one side.
Not only that, but
didn't.
Yeah, to give you a testament to Cav's character, I spoke to him this morning. He just missed the time cut of the Tour de France, day 11 yesterday. Not going home. He's going straight to Tuscany to get ready for Ride London on next Sunday. That's the type of person he is. He's really disappointed he didn't make the Tour, but now he's going to try to win the Ride London on Sunday because he's not a quitter. He wants to do something, do a great job for his team, for himself, for his family.
Very cool. If you want to send a comment or question into a future show for Lance and George is here for the rest of the month, by the way.
Yep.
Okay, so you can continue to send questions in for both or either one of these guys. And Johan's going to check in again.
Yep,
that was cool.
Yep.
If you have questions for him, that might be good. But send it to themove@wedo.team. And the kit that Lance is rocking today is available to members. Information on that at www.wedo.team.
Season pass. Just click season pass. There you go. I get a head start on George.